Good morning. It is Wednesday, March 22nd. I'm Father Patrick from St. Paul's Episcopal Church in Manhattan, Kansas. It is day 19 of Lent. We're almost halfway through Lent, and we are continuing our study of Paul's letter to the Romans. We are in the best chapter of Romans, chapter 8. It's just all hits here in chapter 8, and we've got another day of 2 Greek words. I know, I'm a nerd. They're just so cool. We're going to continue. Remember yesterday, Christ was telling us, or God, Paul was telling us that God has done something amazing in Christ. He's made us joint heirs. We've been adopted as sons and daughters, and that if we suffer like Christ, we will be glorified with him. We will have that resurrection, and he just jumps right into that suffering, right? All right, so future glory is what this section is called. It's chapter 8, verses 18 to 30. I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing with the glory about to be revealed to us. For the creation waits with eager longing for the revelation of the children of God. For the creation was subjected to futility, not of its own will, but by the will of the one who subjected it, in hope that the creation itself will be set free from its bondage to decay and will obtain the freedom of the glory of the children of God. We know that the whole creation has been groaning in labor pains until now. And not only the creation, but we ourselves, who have the first fruits of the Spirit, groan inwardly while we wait for adoption, the redemption of our bodies. For in hope we are saved. Now hope that is seen is not hope, for who hopes for what is seen? But if we hope for what we do not see, we wait for it with patience. Likewise, the Spirit helps us in our weakness, for we do not know how to pray as we ought. But that very Spirit intercedes with sighs too deep for words. And God, who searches the heart, knows what is the mind of the Spirit, because the Spirit intercedes for the saints according to the will of God. We know that all things work together for good, and those who love God, who are called according to his purpose. For those whom he foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son, in order that he might be the firstborn within a large family. And those he predestined, he also called. And those whom he called, he also justified. And those whom he justified, he also glorified. That was chapter 8, verses 18 to 30, future glory. So, Paul has said that if we suffer like Christ, will be resurrected by him because of what God has done in the resurrection miracle of Christ and the cross of Christ. And so Paul looks and he says, so what? Right? Whenever you give the gospel, you give this great news, people always say, well, so what? What does that have to do for me? So Paul says, listen, the suffering that is happening right now is of little import, because what comes is even better. And you have to keep in mind, Christians, Romans, future Christians, you have to keep in mind that not only are you suffering because of what sin and death have done to the world, but the whole world is suffering. This is a really important text for those of us who consider ourselves to be environmentalists and Christians, because it shows that Paul was aware of the fact that all of creation is groaning and waiting for something to happen, right? This world that was initially created to be good is suffering because of what sin and death have done to it. And the word that he uses here to describe what the creation is feeling and what we ourselves feel, he's saying groaning in labor pains, right? Groaning in labor pains. The word here is actually just to suffer with, but the reason we translate it as labor pains is actually really cool. The word here is sunodion. So sunodino. Sunodino means soon, which means with, right? Together, okay? But then odino comes from odine, which is pain or suffer, so to feel pain with. But odine is specifically, literally, labor pain, the pain that a woman feels as she's giving birth. So figuratively, it is about the pain that comes about when we bring something new into the world. Right? So creation is groaning with the same pain that a woman feels while she's giving birth. And that is a terrible thing. It's horrible, right? I have not, of course, experienced this, but I have been present with my wife while she has experienced these things, unmedicated as she has. And it's rough, right? But at the end of it, assuming everything goes well, what comes out is new life, is wonderful, beautiful baby, right? All of creation is currently feeling that labor pain, right? Our pollution of the world, our destruction of the world that comes about because of our sin is creating a situation in which the world is just struggling and groaning, waiting for us to step into our role as the children of God, for us to start behaving as though we believe the fact that Christ has died and risen for us, and that we share in that same promise. Another cool word here that again hints at the same idea is he uses the word groan over and over again, right? But it's not only creation that's groaning. It's not only we who are groaning, suffering. The good news is that the Spirit of God is doing the same thing. Verse 26, likewise, the Spirit helps us in our weakness, for we do not know how to pray as we ought. But that very Spirit intercedes, beautiful language here, with sighs too deep for words, right? That's such a beautiful, it sounds wonderful, right? Sighs too deep for words. And that's an expansion of just a single word, which is stenagmos. Stenagmos comes from the verb stenagmo, which literally means groans, right? So the way that New Revised Standard Version translates it is as sighs too deep for words, but this is the same word that was used up higher in verses 22 and 23 to talk about the groaning of the labor pains of the earth and our own groaning as we wait for the redemption of our bodies. The Spirit is doing the same thing. The Spirit of God is joining us. So not only has God put us in a position to receive redemption, but God is with us as we await that redemption. It's incredible news. And stenagmos doesn't just mean groaning. It specifically means the groaning that happens when a woman is giving birth, right? So the pain of the world, the pain of us, God is experiencing that. I love this stuff. Chapter 8 is incredible. The language here is so beautiful and so perfect because it captures what is happening with our world and what happens with us. And the fact that God is with us through all of that. It's amazing. So what's the thought for the day? The thought for the day is, don't you agree that this is awesome? No, the thought for the day is, given that this is awesome, given that we can go out into the world, we can look, you literally can walk out your door and you can see the groaning of the world, right? You can see the way that global warming, you can see the way that people are homeless on the street. There is pain and death and destruction out there in the world, right? And it is okay that we feel that as well. So feel it, but then realize that there's an end state here and that God is with us through that end state. This Lent, as you go through the second half of the season of Lent, give yourself permission to feel that pain, but then give yourself the permission also to realize that God is feeling that with you. Have a happy and a holy Lent, and we'll see you tomorrow.